Beneath the velvet drapes of a moonless sky, the grand estate of Alistair Finch whispered its last secret. Detective Miles stepped into the silence, a stark contrast to the city's hum he'd left behind. Finch lay still in his leather-backed chair, a man who had commanded time now frozen by it. The air was thick with the scent of old books and an unsettling quiet. All the clocks in the sprawling study were stopped, their hands frozen at the stroke of midnight. All but one. On the mantelpiece, a small, ornate clock ticked defiantly backward, its gears spinning against the current of reality. Miles's gaze fell upon the only two living souls in the room. The butler, wringing his hands with a tremor that betrayed his practiced composure, and Finch's niece, whose icy calm was more unnerving than any open grief. Miles's investigation began with the room itself, a museum of a life lived in excess. His gloved fingers traced the spines of leather-bound volumes until they found it, Alistair Finch's personal diary. The entries were a descent into obsession. Finch wrote of a desperate desire to reverse fate, to undo a past mistake that haunted him. The final pages were filled with frantic scrawls about a final timepiece, a device that promised to bend time to his will. The detective's eyes lingered on a single phrase, underlined twice. Time is the only witness, and it lies. This was no ordinary death. It was a race against a clock that ran in the wrong direction, and Miles was already behind. With the first light of dawn casting long shadows across the polished floor, Miles gathered the niece and the butler in the study. The ticking of the backward clock filled the tense silence. "There was no murder here," the detective announced, his voice cutting through the quiet. Alistair Finch's death was an accident of his own design. He gestured toward the mantelpiece. "That clock is not a clock. It is a time-altering device, his final, desperate attempt to rewrite his past. The millionaire had activated it at midnight, but the machine had malfunctioned, the surge of temporal energy stopping his heart instead of turning back the years. The inscription on its face was not a clue left by a killer, but Finch's own bitter motto. As the case closed and the legalities were settled, Alistair Finch's immense fortune passed to his niece. Standing by the window, a subtle smirk played on her lips as she watched the detective's car disappear down the long drive. Inside the study, Miles gave the backward-ticking clock one last somber look. It continued its lonely, silent rebellion against the flow of time. He walked out into the morning light, leaving the house to its secrets, the ticking a faint, mocking echo in his mind. In a world of concrete facts and cold logic, he had stumbled upon a mystery that time itself could not solve, a chilling reminder that some truths are forever lost in the past.